Hello, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. I'm not Jewish, just so you know. I'm here to have discussions of the Torah. And after looking online, was it okay to share the Torah and to teach the Torah on Shabbat? And the answer is yes, from what I know. Now, on top of that, I want to say this, okay? I want to say that biblically, Gentiles, which are people that are not Jewish, just so you know, although it could be argued that we have been adopted into the family, we are still Gentiles, okay? So, we are not mandated to follow the commandments not the commandments, but like the Torah commandments, the Shabbat, all of the Jewish customs and regulations and all of this stuff. So, for example, there is a specific list of rules of what you can and can't do on Shabbat. There is a specific list of rules of what you can do as a Jewish person, which basically is the mitzvah. Okay, and as you remember, we were doing the mitzvah, and in the mitzvah, there was hardly any mention of Gentiles. Everything was directed at the house of Israel. Nehemites, all these different groupings within Israel. Okay, so here's how I'm gonna put it to you. From what I've discovered so far, we are not commanded to live by those same rules that Israel has to live by. Okay? When Moses was given the commandments, it directly said that these have been given to the house of Israel. Okay? Now, with that being said, I want to say the following. Okay? That it is important to understand that even though you are not commanded to follow any of the Shabbat rules, you are not commanded to follow any of the rulings, any of the requirements, any of the everything in the mitzvah, you still have the opportunity to if you want to. So for me, I wanted a better understanding of how to keep the Sabbath day holy. So in learning that, there were certain things that I wanted to take from the mitzvah and from the Torah, as well as much of the teachings of the Torah, and apply them to my Sabbath day. For example, one of them was I no longer wanted to worship, or I no longer wanted to acknowledge Sunday as being the Sabbath, because it's not. Friday night to Saturday night is the Sabbath. That was one of the main ones that I wanted for sure to do. One of the other ones being, and by the way, this is not a Sabbath teaching, but I'm just going to give this intro at the beginning. So, another one of the main things I wanted to do was to remember to disconnect, midnight, disconnect from online, like a lot of online stuff, being online so much, so that I'm looking at that as more of it's profitable for me to really disconnect from social media, from any sort of stuff like that for the duration of Shabbat, and less for the direct purpose of teaching the Torah, or teaching the Bible, basically, as it were. And reconnect with the relationships that I have with people on Shabbat. That's also a must. So today I'm going to be going down to the lobby out of my house, staying in my building, obviously, and just really playing games and socializing with people, and just enjoying the fellowship with people in that way. So anyway, let's get on to Matthew chapter 8. Okay? Jesus cleansed the leper. when he had come down from the mountain, they don't say which mountain, great multitudes followed him. This is a normal concept. Most people are going to follow after the Messiah. He's done to this point. He's gave all the teachings, do not judge, keep much wisdom. So people are already getting interested. He's given the model prayer. He's given the Beatitudes. He's already been tempted. He's been baptized, and people have witnessed that. So much stuff has been happening. I believe that this is one of the few times already that he has thus done a miracle, so to speak, in Matthew 8. So let's continue reading. And behold, a leper came and worshipped him. Now, a leper, from what my understanding, is a person with a lot of sores, open wounds and sores on their body, and it was very contagious. So if you breathe the same air, if you touch the same food, it was very easy to get leprosy. And just better understanding of leprosy, okay, for you. So leprosy, also known as Hansen disease, nowadays it's listed as Hansen disease, is a long-term infection by a certain bacteria, which I cannot pronounce its name. And it's an infection that can lead to the damage of nerves, so the nerves in your body, respiratory tract, so your respiration, your skin, and your eyes. This nerve damage may result as a lack of ability to feel pain, so you won't be able to feel pain anymore. I actually knew a person who I think had this in part. They were actually able to grab hot stuff out of the stove with their bare hands, and they felt no pain for it. So I think maybe, but it can also lead to the loss or parts of a person's extremities, meaning your hands and feet can be possibly removed. And it is, even now, still a chronic infectious disease. So it's still around today. So leprosy is still there. Okay? A leper came. Now, here's the first thing to indicate in this that I want to mention after I say this. A leper came and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if you're willing, you can make me clean. Okay? So there's a couple things that are taking place here. One is there's a sign that Jesus is God, the deity. Okay? And it is mentioned in this word. A leper came and worshipped him. The leper came to Jesus and worshipped Jesus. Okay? Now you're going to see this numerous times. When reference to Jesus, people worshipped Jesus. Not gave him acknowledgement, not just acknowledge he was a teacher, not just saying thank you, but keyword worshipped. So for those people that don't believe that Jesus is God, okay, or for those doubters out there that say Jesus can't be God, right? I want to ask this question. Would the Son of God be allowing people to commit a sin openly by worshiping him? If he was not God, this would make him an idol, and he would be helping in other people to commit a sin. Okay, so that's the first thing that needs to be said, is he is God. He was worshipped. Okay, now here's the next question. Okay, here's the next step. The argument could be made that just because you worship somebody does not make them certain things. For example, we know that there are many people that worship false gods, right? So just because they worship false gods, so there's people that worship false gods, for example. There's people that pray to the statue of Mary, pray to these other statues, and it could be argued whether or not they worship that, but that doesn't make it an actual god, right? I mean, if you're praying to the statue of Mary, the statue of Mary is not your actual God. It's the God in your heart because you're putting importance on praying to it. and worshiping it, but you get the meaning I'm saying here. Okay, the argument basically is that just because you're worshiping something does not automatically make it a god. In that sense, in the sense of what we're talking about here. Okay, so the only thing that I want to hinge on more is, would Jesus have allowed people? I mean, you think about the areas in the Bible where people have done sins in front of Jesus, right? How did he react to that? Was he kosher with it? Was he like, hey, no problem? You know, when he saw that there was money changers in the temple, did he just leave the tables there and be like, yeah, no problem, you know, do your sin? No, he flipped over the table. So I don't think for a split second I think that if it was wrong to worship Jesus as God and as Lord, I think he would have openly said something about it. He would be like, no, stop, don't worship me. He never said that to nobody. He never told anybody not to worship him. So that's a good signifier for me. Okay. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is in the saying, Lord. He calls him Lord. Now, there's only one Lord. Okay? And that is God. There's only one Lord. If you are willing, you can make me clean. If you are willing, you can make me clean. The second notice here for me is the fact that God cleanses. Let me give you an example. In the Torah, we learned that you had to do certain things in order to make something consecrated or to make something holy, right? You made a choice, and so you made a payment or you did something for this goat or for this cow that you were going to offer as a sacrifice to make that animal holy and cleansed, so to speak. And even when you found yourself to be foul or contaminated, you had to take a bath to get cleansed. Okay, and the Lord is the one that does the cleansing. So that's the part I want to point out to you, that the Lord does the cleansing. Okay, he has authority. In other words, he has power to clean you, to cleanse you. We know this in our own lives, right? Anytime you take something to Jesus and really focus on Jesus, he has this ability to change you from the inside out. Okay, so he has that authority still. Okay, let's continue in verse 3. Then Jesus put out his hand. He put his hand. Remember, leprosy was contagious. You could contract it through touch. Okay, Jesus put out his hand and touched him, saying, I am willing. So there's another thing that I want to acknowledge in too real quick. Okay, so the guy who's saying this said, Lord, if you are willing. So he's using the word if, like he's basically saying, I don't know if it's possible, but if it is possible, Lord, cleanse me. So there's a submission of the heart that has taken place within this guy of going, God, I'm submitting to you this. I have leprosy. I'm submitting my situation. I'm submitting my storm. I'm submitting my problem, okay, to you. And if you are willing, if you're willing to remove it, you can make me clean. So he's showing his faith in the next section where he says, you can make me clean. He's declaring with his words, Lord, I know you can do this if you want to, is basically what he's saying. If you want to, Lord, I know you can do this. I know. I have belief in you. Okay, I trust in you. I know who you are and that you are able to do this. Okay, so that is the connection from 2 to 3. Okay, and what does Jesus say? Okay, then Jesus put out his hand and touched him and saying, I am willing. I have the desire for you to be healed. I have the desire for you to be healed from this affliction. Now, note, in the Bible, not every time that someone has went to Jesus to be healed or went to God to be healed of something, okay, have they been healed. For example, we know that Paul, I think it was Peter or Paul, asked for the thorn to be removed out of his side 3 times in the New Testament, and the Lord said no. Okay, so not every time you ask for something to be removed, will it be removed. So here's how I would say this. I believe fully that the Lord is going to remove something out of your life if he knows that by removing it, it's going to draw you closer to him. But if he knows, and trust me, he knows, but if he knows that you going through it is going to bring some goodness, he's going to allow you to go through it. This is why, for me, I have stopped asking God to remove the storms in my life. I have stopped. I don't do that anymore. You might be, Kevin, you're crazy. Why would you not ask God to remove things out of your life? I've really just stopped doing that. And for me, it's a changing of the concept of asking myself, is there some good that can come from this storm? Is there some good that can come from this situation or storm that I'm going through that can bring me closer to God? Which is a good thought to have. It's all about flipping your mindset when a storm hits. How you respond to the storm, in other words. He said, I am willing, be cleansed, be clean of this affliction. This is a physical affliction that's taking place, not a spiritual one. Now, not to say, I'm not saying that you can't have an affliction that's spiritual in nature. We know that the war that we wage now in our faith, the war that we wage and the things that we go through, okay, it's an affliction of the spiritual war. A lot of things that we go through are the affliction of the spiritual part. But we still face things physically that we go through. We still get sick, right? So it's still good to God to ask. When you ask, sometimes he's going to say no. Sometimes he's going to say yes. It's all in the hands of the Lord. Okay? I am willing, be cleansed. Be cleansed. Saying, I am willing, it's what I want, be cleansed. Immediately. This is not, now this indicates that it wasn't that the Lord God said to him, my waist is itching. Oh, I have no clue why. This is not, the word immediately signifies to me that this is not, he went to a doctor and the doctor gave him some sort of antibiotic, and if he took the antibiotic for a week, the leprosy went away, kind of thing. No. This was supernatural, no medications, immediately. At that very moment, boom. Immediately, his leprosy was cleansed. Now, we know that from the healing of the woman with bleeding for 12 years, right? We know that many other times in the Bible, their faith and their belief in the Lord is what opened the door to their divine healing. Okay? And I want to say the same is here. Because before he ever gets healed, he's submitting himself. He's putting his situation in the Lord's hands, which is awesome to do. Okay? And he's saying, I trust you. Okay? I fully trust you. So his belief is opening that door for that divine blessing. Okay? Immediately his leprosy was cleansed. Immediately. Boom. It's cleansed. Gone. And Jesus said to him, so this is important. This is a very important thing to say. Listen to this. Now that we've, so I want to make this. Ooh, that gnat, you got lucky. I saw you out the corner of my eye landing on my Bible. You were about to die. As I'm reading this next part, I really want you to remember that the Lord does not do away with the mitzvahs for the Jewish people. Now, these are Jewish people he's dealing with, just so you know. These are Israelites, people of the house of Israel, people that are Jewish, not Gentiles. Okay? I don't see any, because usually when he deals with Gentiles, it'll actually say it's a Gentile person or a Roman or something, that somebody that's not from the house. Now, this just says a leper. Okay, it doesn't say what, but I want to kind of guess that the leper is not somebody that's a Gentile, based on what he says to him. So listen to this. Jesus said to him, "See that you tell no one." First of all, I don't want any personal glory for this. So the question is, anytime you're doing something, are you trying to get glory? Are you trying to have some sort of glory come from it by having people acknowledge it? You know what I mean? When I'm talking on the bus to people about faith, I'm ministering to them, and I'm sharing my faith and sharing what God has done in my life, and sharing, not all the time, and sharing how God can help them and all these other things. But I've already received my gift for that because it's done in public. It's not done in private. Does that make sense? Okay. So Jesus is saying, I want no self-glory for this. And then he says, but go on your way. Now listen to this. Remember the mitzvahs. Show yourself to the priests. To the priest. Right? Show yourself to the priest. Not the high priest, but the priest. Okay? And do what next? Listen to this. And offer the gift that Moses commanded, that's talking about the mitzvah, as a testimony to them. Offer that offering. Offer that gift as a, you've been cleansed. Ooh, that gnat's going to get it. Wait till the sun comes up. I am so sick and tired of these gnats. Okay. Getting back to, because I know Satan's trying to distract me with this, so I'm not going to listen to it. In this, he is directly pulling from Deuteronomy 24:8. So we're actually going to go to that so you can understand what is being said. So Deuteronomy 24, verse 8. Okay. So let's read so miscellaneous laws. Listen to this. Take heed in an outbreak of leprosy that you carefully observe and do according to all that the priests and the Levites shall teach you, just as I commanded them, so you shall be careful to do. Now this is directly related to Leviticus 13:2. So we're going to jump back to Leviticus 13 verse 2. Okay, the law concerning leprosy. So listen to this law. When a man has skin of his body swell and scab in bright spots, and it becomes skin and it looks like a leprosy sore, then he shall be brought to Aaron the priest, or one of his sons. The priest shall examine his body, basically, and the hair and sore on his body. Then the priest shall examine him and pronounce him unclean. Okay. And then the priest, and then he's to be isolated, right, for 7 days. And the priest shall examine him on the seventh day, and indeed the sore appears to be as it was, then the sore was spread. The priest shall isolate him for another 7 days, and it continues on. And you just examine him and examine him and examine him all over his body, and then you consider him unclean. Okay. And there's a whole section in Leviticus 13 that deals directly with this. Okay, so you can see the Bible's connected. Okay, so there were laws required that if you are cleansed of leprosy, you had to make a very specific gift offering, and that is what Moses commanded. Okay, that is in the Torah, just so you know. Okay. Now I'm going to try to look up online what this is. So we have So the sacrifice here that is required, that they're talking about, okay, includes 2 live clean birds and cedar wood, which is like some sort of tree type of, it's like a type of firewood, I guess, and scarlet yarn and hyssop. This is Leviticus 14, 4 through 8. Okay, that is the offering and the gift. That is the offering, and I don't know what the heck. Why did it freeze? What the hell? Okay, so I don't know what was going on, but my screen froze for a while. Okay, but if you missed that, what I had said is I looked up what the offering was. So the offering was, there was cedar wood, there was hyssop, and a bunch of other things. So it was a very specific offering, and it was basically 2 clean birds that would be required as what was to be required of these people. Okay. In the Old Testament, okay, and that is what would have been required for these people when you're healed of leprosy. Okay, so that is what's required. So Jesus tells them, "Hey, remember, stupid, oh, that gnat's getting on my nerves. Sorry." That gnat is getting on my nerve. Okay. That thing is really testing me. I'm not joking with you. That thing is really testing me, and it really... Ooh, wait till that sun comes up, boy. You are going to get it. Okay. Anyway, guys. So let's continue on. So that's the first thing that's occurred. Satan's really distracting me right now. I just saw that gnat out the corner of my eye. Speaking of which, it's interesting that, have you noticed that gnats and bugs are on the rise in the world? Like there's been an explosion. Think about that. You know what pestilences are? Bugs. Pestilences. So let's look at if I'm not mistaken, pestilence. Let's look at pestilence. Oh, no. It's a fatal epidemic disease, especially like bubonic plague. So I thought pestilences were insects, where it was like a swarm of insects, but I was wrong. So pestilence is not that. But I don't think it's a coincidence that we're in the end times and bugs are going haywire. That's what I want to say. So the first leprosy has been healed. Let's look at the next in verse 5. Now when Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion, right? Centurion. This is not an Israelite. This is a Gentile. Okay? A centurion came to him, pleading with him, saying, Lord. So even a Gentile is acknowledging his authority, acknowledging who he is. Lord. Okay? My servant is lying at home paralyzed. We don't know whether it was paralyzed through an accident and the person just became paralyzed. I want to kind of say that it was. And the reason I want to say that is because this is his servant. I don't think he would have hired a servant that would have been paralyzed from birth, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I think this was something happened and his servant became paralyzed. And My servant is dreadfully tormented by this paralyzation. He's tormented by it. It's serving no good in his life. And Jesus said to him, I will come and heal him. I will come with you. I will come with you. I will travel with you to wherever this guy is, and I will heal him. Okay? Now, Jesus knows exactly what's going to happen because he is God. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy. So that's the first thing that we have to acknowledge is that the man is keeping himself humbled. He's keeping himself knowing that he's unworthy to receive and get. He's unworthy to receive and get the Lord in his presence. He's acknowledging his sinfulness. He's acknowledging his need. I really hate that stupid gnat. There's one particular gnat just buzzing around every so often. I see him out the corner of my eye. I see him flying across here, flying over. You got it. Bye-bye. So, getting back to the story, okay? He's acknowledging his lowliness, his humbleness, him being unworthy of what the Lord has to offer, okay? I am unworthy that you should come under my roof. I'm unworthy that you should even enter into my home. That is huge humility. That is huge humility and acknowledging his own sin. Okay. Ooh, you just wait till the sun comes up. Okay, so he's acknowledging he's unworthy of the Lord to enter into him, to enter into his presence, to enter into his life, to enter into his home. Okay? He's like, I'm not worthy of anything you're giving me. And that is the attitude that we should have. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve any of this. Okay? But he says, and then the next thing he does is he shows his belief and faith to a level that even the Jews haven't shown up to this point. He says, but only speak the word, only say the word, and my servant shall be healed. Only speak the word, and my servant shall be healed. Only speak the word, and my servant shall be healed. Speak the very word. I don't even need to see it. He's saying, I have such faith that you are the Lord, that all you have to do is say it. I don't even have to see it. All you have to do is say it, and I know it's going to happen. How much change in our lives could be taking place if we knew, beyond a shadow of a doubt, if we knew and had that kind of faith to say, Lord, I don't even need to see it. I just know. I just know. I don't need to have that kind of faith. I just know. You know, how think about that. How much difference would happen in our life if we had that kind of faith, to have that kind of trust in the Lord working in our lives in such a way as we would believe it before we see it. As a matter of fact, that is one of the concepts of faith, where the world says, I want to see first and then I believe, right? But faith says, I'll believe first and then I'll see. And that is the actual concept that I would urge each of you to understand. Okay? That is something I definitely urge you to take into your life, to have the kind of faith that believes before it sees. Okay? But only speak the word, and I know that my servant will be healed. I know it. I believe it. I know it. Okay? So he's showing how deep his faith is at that. For I am, and then he shows why. He shows that he understands the concept here. Okay? For I also am a man under authority. I understand the chain of command, authority. Having soldiers under me, and I say to this one, go, and he goes. And to another one, come, and he comes. And to my servant, do this, and he does it. When Jesus, so that is what, I honestly think these gnats are trying to toy with me. They are, oh, I'm just going to fly right in front of him. Okay, so what's going on is the guy is saying this, that I understand the chain of command. I understand how things work. That servants and people under you do what you say. So I know that this happens. So I know if you just say it, it's going to happen. Okay, so he has a distinct experience factor. He has an experience factor of life teaching him that when he says something, it gets done. That authority is honored and respected. So he understands this, even as a Gentile. Okay. When Jesus heard it, he marveled. The word marveled is not something you see very often when it comes to Jesus in the sense of being marveled. So marveled is like being in awe, astonished, like that kind of reaction. Okay. I don't know if he actually gave that kind of reaction, but it's shock. It was like shocking to him. Okay. Now, mind you, this is Jesus, who is God in the flesh. He knew what was going to happen before it ever happened. Okay, I'm a firm believer in that. Okay, so it wasn't that he was shocked that it happened, like he didn't know it was going to happen. No. He was shocked that this person had that kind of faith openly. Okay, he said, and here's what he said. He said to everybody that followed him, everybody else that was following him. Now this is a whole multitude of people, as we learned at the beginning of 8. Okay. Assuredly, in other words, I promise you, I say to you and I promise you that what I'm saying is true. I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel, not even in the Jews, basically. Not even in my own people have I found such great faith. And I say to you that many will come from the east and the west, meaning many will come from all over, and will sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. Okay, many will come. So this is now signifying in Revelations, when all the peoples of the world are gathered together in heaven with all of the Jews and Gentiles and everybody else, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Okay? So we need to look at what the sons of the kingdom are. So the sons of the kingdom, okay, who will be cast out into the outer darkness, Matthew 8:12, is reference to unbelieving Jews. Unbelieving Jews. So sons of the kingdom, right? Sons of the kingdom of God. Unbelieving Jews. Jews that don't believe that the Messiah has come. Who don't believe. So we just figured out what that was. Sons of the kingdom is unbelieving Jews. Okay? Unbelieving Jews. So going back to verse 12. But the sons of the kingdom, unbelieving Jews, will be cast out into the outer darkness, where they're not going to have any fellowship with the Lord. They're not going to be able to call on the Lord. This would maybe even indicate being in hell. But the outer darkness is like the section, an area where you're not able to call on the Lord, and you're not able to be in the Lord's presence or anything. And I believe this is hell based on what it says next. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So this is on the outside of heaven, basically. You're not in heaven, you're on the outside of heaven. Okay? Then Jesus said to the centurion, "Go on your way, and as you have believed," right there, signifier, listen to that again. As you have believed. In other words, in the same level and measure by which you have believed, let it be done. So here's another connection of things. Your miracles in your own personal life are in direct connection, okay? They're in direct connection to the amount of belief that you have in the Lord. The more you believe in the Lord, the more miracles you will see in your life, in one way or another. Whether it's spiritual miracle or a physical miracle, the more you believe. Believing opens the door. Put it that way, okay? And his servant was healed that very same hour. That very same hour that Jesus said, "Go on your way, and as you have believed, let it be done for you." His servant was healed. Okay? So now we have a centurion, a Gentile being healed. Okay? A leper being healed, Gentile being healed. Peter's mother-in-law healed. So Peter's mother-in-law. Now when Jesus had come into Peter's house, this is one of the apostles, okay? He saw his mother's wife lying sick with a fever. This is just a normal fever, but it was ravaging her. I want to say it was probably the fact that she was older, and as you get older, your immune system drops down for most people. So that's probably why the fever was ravaging her so much. So he touched her hand, and the fever left her. He didn't even say a word. He just touched her hand. Okay, he just touched her hand. I'm assuming that she was unconscious, or that she was in such pain, and I'm assuming that that he was able to read her heart, that she was believing that she would be healed by him, without it ever being said so. Because he never says a word in this. He never says a word. He simply comes into Peter's house. He saw the mother laying sick on the house, one of his apostles. He touched her on the hand, and the fever left her. Boom, gone. And she arose, and she served them. Out of thankfulness, she served. So make sure that your serving of the Lord is done out of your thankfulness for what he's done. Okay? This is why we walk by faith. This is why we live our lives holy before the Lord. Thankfulness. Remember, make your life a sacrificial offering to the Lord out of thankfulness. Okay? Make your life sacrificial. Make it an offering to the Lord. Okay? Does that make sense? Next, after that, many healed in the evening. When evening had come, now we're getting into evening, okay? They had brought to him many people who were demon possessed, okay? Now, I want to say that I want to kind of feel that this is more just in my own feelings. I would say demon possessed both include actual possessions as well as what we know today. Because think about it, back in the old days, a lot of the mental problems that we have today and the mental disabilities we thought were demon possessed, right? So I would say it like this: people were brought to the Lord who had all kinds of afflictions, is the way that I read that when it says demon possessed. But that also includes demon possessed people that actually have spirits of the devil in them. Okay, and he cast out the spirits with a word. Your words have power. Remember that. And he healed all of them who were sick, that it might be fulfilled. But he didn't just do this just because. There was a point. Listen to this. That it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet. Okay? He himself took our infirmities, our problems, our sicknesses, and he bore our sicknesses. He took our infirmities and he bore our sicknesses. Remember what the Lord said. My yoke is easy, my yoke is light. Exchange my yoke with yours. Give me your yoke and I'll give you mine. This is a yoke, by the way, is that big piece of wood thing that would be on an ox's head that they used to pull the stuff behind it. Okay, like if they were plowing the field, you'd have oxen and you have that ox with a big piece of wooden thing that has two bars coming out or something like that, and then there will be ropes or chains tied to it, and then they would be pulling something behind them. Okay. Trying to remember what that was. Okay, so he himself took our infirmities, and this is also indicating of what is to come on the cross. He's taken on our sins. He's taken on our weaknesses. He's taken on our problems unto himself. How do you get cleansed? But how do you get clean? How do you get cleaned in your life? By giving it to the Lord. By letting go of it. By going, God, here's all my dirt. Here's all my sickness. Here's all my nastiness. Here's all my evil. Please take it and get rid of it for me. Okay? Now, for anybody that's being a disciple of the Lord, that calls himself a disciple of the Lord, listen to this. The cost of discipleship. The cost. Okay? And when Jesus saw great multitudes about him, all around him, in other words, he gave a command to depart to the other side. Okay? To depart to the other side. Now, it doesn't say water, so I'm thinking depart to the other side would be significant of that, but it might just be depart to the other side of the land. Who knows? So we'll figure that out later. Okay. Then a certain scribe came and said to him. So this is a scribe. So a scribe would be someone that writes down the Bible, writes down the Torah. Someone who is hired to. This would kind of like be today. This would be like newspaper printers or journalists or something of that sort. Okay. So a scribe came to him and said, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." And Jesus said to him, "Foxes have holes, birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." Maybe that might be him simply saying, "I'm tired." Okay. That one kind of that verse right there still kind of confuses me a little bit. So basically saying, wait a minute. Okay, I got you. So he's saying foxes have their home in the world. Foxes are able to go to their den that they call home. Okay. Birds have their nests that they can go back to. He's saying, I'm the Son of Man. I'm God in the flesh. My home is not on this planet. I cannot go anywhere to lay my head and rest from the work that needs to be done. Okay, he's saying, "Ooh, you're lucky I saw you out there. You're lucky you didn't move." He's saying, my home is in heaven. My home is in heaven. Okay? This is not my home. The earth is not my home. I'm a visitor here, basically. Okay? Then another of his disciples said to him, "Lord, let me go first." So this is a disciple of his. Said, "Lord, let me go and bury my father." This is 1 Kings 19:20 for a reference for that, if you want to know the reference. But Jesus said to him, "Follow me and let the dead bury their own dead." Now, we know common sense tells us a dead person cannot bury another dead person. Basically, the Lord's saying, focus on what matters in life. Don't focus on what doesn't matter. Focus on what matters. Okay? This is what I'm getting from this. Next, the wind and the waves obey Jesus is the title of this section. Now, when he got into the boat, so now they're near the lake, they're near the water, he's getting into the boat. This is a very awesome one. Okay? I love this verse. His disciples followed him into the boat. So they're in the boat with him. And suddenly, a great tempest arose on the sea. This would be a sea storm, in other words. Okay, a sea storm came out of nowhere. Okay, and the boat was covered with waves. So, high waves. The boat's rocking and shaking and going absolutely crazy. Okay, and the boat was covered with the waves, but the Lord was asleep. Think about that for a second. I want you to get the understanding here. In this verse, I believe that God is trying to give you an understanding of how to be peaceful in your heart in the middle of a storm raging. Okay, so listen to this. I'll say it again. He was asleep while this great storm was raging. How many of us, if we bothered, can learn to be at ease in our spirits, to learn to be at ease in our minds and in our hearts in the midst of a raging storm that has come into our life? Wow, powerful. Very powerful, guys, I'm telling you. Then his disciples came to him. His disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, "Lord, save us, we're perishing." Now you notice what these are the disciples, for Pete's sake. You notice what the disciples are doing. They're having ye of little faith, in other words. I want that Satan, you are testing me. They are showing little faith, little belief. They have the Lord in the boat with them. If I had the Lord in the boat with me, I might lose my focus. And we do that in our life. We lose focus of the Lord, and we start fretting and panicking about what storm we're going through, forgetting who's in the boat with us. Wow, powerful. Think about that. The Lord is with us. We're not by ourselves. We're not battling things by ourselves. We're forgetting that the Lord's with us. The Holy Spirit is with us. Wow. But he said to them, "Why are you fearful? Why are you afraid? Why are you afraid? Oh, you of little faith. You of little belief. Why are you afraid? I'm with you." Do you know, he's basically, do you know how many people wished in the future that the Lord was with them physically? Do you know how many people wish that? And here you are, you have me with you physically. You can see me with your own eyes. And you're still panicking. So then he got up. He knew their faith was low. Now, at this point, he could have said, "Okay, well, you have little faith. I'm not doing nothing. Forget you." Right? He could have done that. He could have done what the world tries to get us to do. He could have done exactly what the world tries to teach us to do, which is, if people are not nice to you, don't be nice to them. Right? It's not what he does. Listen. So they're showing that they're struggling in their faith. Listen to what he does in the midst of their lack of faith. Then he arose and he rebuked the wind. And he rebuked the sea. Like, be still. Wow. How many of us could be going through that situation? We're facing a storm, or we're facing some sort of difficult situation or circumstance in our life. Okay? And the Lord knows, and all we have to do is trust that he's going to handle it. And he'll put out his hand, and he will rebuke whatever's going on if we focus our eyes on him. This is connected to Psalms 65:7, Psalms 89:9 for reference, as well as Psalms 107:29. Okay, for that one particular section where he rose up and rebuked the wind and the waves. Okay. So the men, the disciples, marveled. Okay, saying to themselves, who can this be? Who can this be? Now they've probably seen him heal the leper, heal the centurion's servant, okay, heal many people of sicknesses, and they're still going, who can this be? That even the winds and the sea obey him. So to this point, they still haven't understood exactly who he is, okay? They still have not understood who he is. Next section. When he had come to the other side, to the country of the boy, this is a hard one. Gergesens? I'm going to have to look that up. I'll make sure I spell it right. Okay, so Gergesens are Gergesa, in other words. Gergesa, so Gergesens are people from Gergesa. Gergesa, also known as Gergasa, of the country of Gergesens, is a place on the eastern side of the Sea of Galilee, the eastern side, located at some distance of ancient Decapolis, cities of Gadara and Gerasa. So here's what it says. Gergasa, or the country of Gergesens, is the place on the eastern Golan Heights side, okay, of Golan Heights side of the Sea of Galilee, located at some distance in the Bible. So it's you have the sea that they're passing across, and I got to remember I'm reversed. So over here is where they traveled from. They're going over to this side. On this side is Gergesens, okay, which is the people of Gergesa, okay. So when they had come to the other side of the lake that they're passing across, okay, or other side of the body of water, to the country of the Gergesens, there met him two demon-possessed men. Again, these are Gentiles, but I think they're Gentiles. I'm not for sure, because this is the other side of the lake. I don't know if it's still in Israel. I don't know if it's still the people of Israelites or not. There met him two demon-possessed men. So two demon-possessed men coming out of the tombs, exceedingly fierce. That would be madmen, like kind of thing. Okay, so that no one could pass that way. Okay, no. So they're coming out to raging, going bananas. Okay, going crazy. So they're kind of like doing something to deter people from coming their way, kind of thing. But they're not doing it willfully. They are demon possessed. Okay, and suddenly they cried out, saying, "What have we to do with you, Jesus, Son of God? What are you here for, Son of God? Why are you here, Son of God?" The enemy does not like God being in the presence. The enemy does not like it when the Spirit of God comes into play. Obviously. Have you come here to torment us before the time? What time they talk about? The time of judgment. That is talking about the day of the Lord, the time of judgment. Okay? Have you come here to torment us? Now a good way off from them, there was a herd of swine, pigs, feeding pigs. Okay? So there was a herd of pigs feeding. So the demons begged him. They begged of the Lord. They begged him. Think about that for a second. A demon understands the almighty power of the Lord to the point where they are begging. The word begging does not mean nonchalantly going, send me into the pigs. Like, I don't care, you don't have no power kind of thing. This is, I'm fighting you. Oh, please send me into the pigs. I don't want your wrath on me kind of thing, okay? So these demon-possessed men with human eyes notice a herd of pigs feeding. So the demons begged him, saying, if you cast us out of this person, of these people, if you heal these people and cast us out of these people, okay, permit us to go away into the herd of swine. So they're asking permission now. They know they have no power. They know they can't go nowhere without the Lord allowing it. And this is an indicator that the spirit of the enemy in the world today cannot move unless two things happen. One, people who are saved get silent and don't stand against sin. And two, if the Lord actually allows it to take place. Okay? Permit us to go away. And here's why I say that. Because when a saved person, a believer, a follower of the Lord, stands up for righteousness, the enemy cannot stand against it. Okay? And he said to them, go. He didn't give any bless. This is a demon. He's not going to bless a demon. He says, go. Get. Okay? With commanded authority. Get. Kind of thing. Okay? So when they had come out of the men, so at that point they were ejected from the demon, from the men that they were possessing. Okay? When they had come out, they went into the herd of swine, and suddenly the whole herd of swine ran violently, same as how the men were, violently, right? Ran violently down the steep place. So this would be like a steep hill, right? Into the sea. And the pigs drowned. They perished in the water. The pigs drowned. The demon-possessed pigs now drowned in the water. Okay? Then those who kept them fled. Those who kept them fled, meaning the people who kept the pigs, the owners of the pigs, fled. And they went away into the city and told everything that happened. So this would be like the herders and the people who were watching over the pigs going, our pigs are running off the cliff? Our pigs are running and drowning themselves into water? These are people that have visually seen, maybe. So if I'm the pigger, I'm imagining, here's my group of pigs. I'm a herder. I'm herding them for whatever reason, and I'm watching over them. And this is my flock of pigs, or whatever, or my group of pigs. And then off in the distance, I see this person on a beach. And he's telling two men, go. And the next thing I know, my pigs are running into the water, killing themselves. Okay. Now, if you know anything about animals, animals, just like us, have a very high love for being alive. They have an instinct for staying alive. So the demon-possessed are under such authority of the Lord that it overrides this self-care, this self-saving, the self-saving instinct within all living creatures, that all living creatures have to save their own life, right? The demons are overriding that, and the authority given and the command given of the Lord is overriding that. Okay? So that's something that I see in this. Okay? So they run into the city. And what city is this? The city of Gergesa. the city of Gergesa, the nearby city, okay? And they told everything, including what had happened to the demon-possessed men. So that means that the people had seen the cleansing of the demon-possessed men afterwards, how they shifted, how they changed. And this is something that the world needs to see of us. They need to see a direct shift and change of how we used to be versus how we are now, okay? And behold, the whole city came out to meet Jesus. They came out to meet Jesus, okay? And they came out to meet Jesus, but listen to what they say, okay? And when they saw him, they begged him to depart from the region. They did not want him in their area. They did not want this. So they're looking at this. You're accosting us things. Please leave. When you do things for the Lord, there are going to be times in your life that people, as well as situations, as well as cities or places, are going to reject you. And at that, we are supposed to shake our feet off, because it's going to be worse for them than for the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay? Now, thank you guys for joining us for Matthew 8. I'll see you guys again tomorrow for Matthew 9. Be blessed. And Shabbat Shalom.